Bushbug from Cool News.
You are?
I am.
Wow.
Like you guys, I'm really curious to hear what these guys have to say. So why don't we just start out just by having everybody just kind of introduce yourselves, and we'll get into the motion comments here in just a second, and what you're doing and everything, but just starting out just by saying who you are.
Cool. My name is Matt Pizzolo. I run a company called Halo-8. It's a film company, but we're all comic book geeks, and we were thinking a few years ago that it would be really cool to fuse sequential art from comics with films. And it was a little bit before the whole motion comics thing blew up, and what we did is we designed something that we call illustrated films. It's a little bit different than motion comics. Basically, we're trying to do something that's more cinematic and more of a film, rather than trying to be a cartoon. And so, while they have some similarities, I mean, basically, film works in a different structure than, say, a cartoon does, which is what motion comics are trying to do. So, Wacko from Animaniacs is going to bounce all around the frame, but Michael Madsen and Reservoir Dogs is not going to. So, we're not trying to just jostle everything in the frame. The way that we designed it is really to use the audio as the driver of the whole piece. So we bring together film actors, and in some cases other kinds of performers like rock stars, to the voice performances, and then we build out this whole sound design that we use as the pace. So that way you can really watch the art in a way and appreciate the sequential art in the way you can in a comic book, as opposed to a motion comic where there's a lot of effect done to that after the fact. What we really want to do is create art from the beginning that works both in the comic book space and in the illustrated film space, not go back to existing comic books and repurpose them for motion comics. So we've really been blessed by a lot of awesome artists who are also interested in exploring this space with us, like the wonderful Templesmith, wonderful Tim Seeley, seated to his right, and the wonderful F.J. DeSanto, who is actually a film producer. He worked on the Spirit movie, he's worked on a bunch of Batman movies, he's working on the Shadow movie that's coming up, but he's also creating comic books now. But we're not allowed to talk about that because they haven't been announced yet.
Yes.
So FJ, why don't you tell us a little?
Matt came to me some time ago showing me what you're going to see today, and I got very excited as somebody more with a film background, but also connection to the comic book world and a love of that. Understanding of, how do you build franchises in this day and age, and I just got so excited by the medium that, I begged if I could get involved, with something to at least see how you can do these things now. And I just think it's an exciting new way of telling stories and building a fan base around that. It's that real, what he calls the illustrated film, I think is a little different than the motion comic itself, where the illustrated film, I think there's a different kind of storytelling approach, etc., that I actually think lends itself more to comic books than they do, cartoons, where you're talking about the total amounts of stuff. So it's an exciting opportunity to create new stuff, new properties, and introduce them to a newer, wider audience, and that's one of the reasons why you see a guy like Ben here who understands where this is all going, and I think that, I'm sort of in the middle of these two, where it's all sort of coming together, and that's why we're here.
You didn't use the marketing term like convergence.
Convergence. Because they'd all be like, oh, this guy's an asshole.
Yeah. It is all about
the word convergence. It's synergy.
It's about words and pictures and the visual nature of storytelling and new ways and new mediums and how you can get that out. That's why I do comics, is that I like telling stories that I can tell them, which is like directing and doing the way I want. I see it in my head and I can get it out on paper. I can't do it on film yet because I don't have the skills necessarily, but this is like a cross medium for that. And to do something dedicated to that, you can do things that you can't do in comics for sure. And it's just, I don't know, there's new strengths I wish to find out about and do.
And is it unique for you to look at a project from the beginning as being...
Yeah, this is unique for me. The only other, I'm sure people have probably been slightly familiar with a game called Dead Space, which I did a comic book for. I had nothing to do with the game, but thank you. It was really good, yeah. But I did a comic prelude thing for that, which they actually turned into a motion comic slightly with voiceover. But it didn't work in a sense in that it was, it worked, and that's probably the biggest thing anyone's ever seen of mine, was like over 1 million people downloaded it or something. But they took the comic, and the comic has a lot of words in it sometimes. So you have a small panel, very small picture of someone, big word. That doesn't work when you translate it to motion comic. Then we have the tiny, horrible little picture that they blow up big because they need it for that little bit. But the person says a lot of dialogue, it looks kind of horrible. I would have repurposed that and done something different. So this is an opportunity for me to actually dedicate something to do it the right way that I would want to do it, dedicated for that. And then the comic would come second to that. Not as a second-class citizen, but because I would adapt it. Yeah, a companion. I'm interested in working in reverse. So obviously the new thing I'm hopefully doing with Halo-8 and co is a thing called Black Sky, which will be sort of like a war, not a comic, a war story, a bit like Band of Brothers with Squid. So
we can show the first art for that ever. If Aubrey, can you flip down to Black Sky?
Slightly Cthulhu-y influence-y type things. But it's told from the soldier's point of view, so it's actually going to be relatively serious, but with tenders.
So here's the first art of Black Sky.
Yeah, so it's about like a team of soldiers, and there's politics and various things to do with the larger picture that they go through, and just the realities of war. So they're more low-tech, because humanity is like, it's post-apocalyptic in a sense, so it's more low-tech, so you get a real sense of the humans. It's not people pushing buttons and things blowing up in modern or something. You know, the golf, it's not the golf or something. Well, no, what I mean is like, there's no like big bombing run things. They're reduced to being dudes with guns in the ruins.
So can you talk a little bit about the story? We can.
Not really. I'm giving the broad overview because I've got to write it yet, so. Yeah. There's awesome characters, whatever. Help me out with the Hollywood stuff. Come on. How do you sell this stuff?
Oh, you know, I'll do the really bad Hollywood version of it.
It's one man.
You know.
It's
a band of brothers, but I mean, it's this. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's this post-apocalyptic future.
Yeah, it's they're not aliens. It actually is something. It turns out that they owned the Earth long before humanity and everything else that came to do with geology and weird stuff like that. So it's actually more kind of scientific, but then obviously fantasy. So
a little bit of the host, a little bit of the.
A little bit. Basically, some bad people, not bad people, but an oil company in Russia drilled down a bit too deep, and something happens. So and then the world goes from there.
So there's more to this story.
There's a lot more to play out. So yeah.
We're being serious again.
But I think for me, what's exciting is.
I'm reading it yet, so I have to figure the fine details out.
Ben, Matt told me that you have kind of like an issue with the term motion comic. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
I have an issue with it?
Well,
or just that people think it's the new frontier or something, when motion comic to me is an adaptation of something that already existed, which is, that's not the new frontier. The new frontier is doing original material and adapting to the medium properly rather than just backtracking and trying to make it work. Which, you know, it's like TV shows are, well, okay, TV shows now made into movies, but they're not, you know, they're not cutting up and spicing up what was existing. They're just redoing completely brand new for the format. So, which is what I think is good. I forget what my actual real issue with motion comics was. Oh, except that they're not really comics. They should call them comics. If they haven't got word balloons in it, it's not a motion comic. It's an illustrated film in a way, but not as well done, not as a dedicated one for the comics.
So, what was your opinion on? Because Watchmen has the word balloons.
I actually haven't seen Watchmen.
The thing. So you're fucked.
There goes my logic. That's a motion comic. That's fine.
But no, but that actually.
That's fine. I've never even read Watchmen, so.
Actually,
You've never read Watchmen?
I've never read Watchmen. I told Dave Gibbons that too, so. It hates my guts.
guess that was given for Christmas now.